potentially devastating war in Ukraine has just begun.
When this war started back in February, I realized that the refugees were trying to cross the border with their pets, and I was hearing about they were having some trouble getting their pets across the border. So I just randomly contacted a vet in a small border town in Romania called Isaccea, which is the southern border crossing in Romania to Ukraine. We didn't really have a plan. He said, come on over here, we'll figure something out. You know, we ended up setting up this border station. Everything just kind of fell into place. I was an emergency vet for 20 years. The hospital that I started with my partners, we were fortunate enough to sell it a few years ago to a large company, which freed me up to focus on the nonprofit, the Street Dog Coalition, which I started in 2015. And the mission of that nonprofit is to provide free veterinary care to pets of those experiencing or at risk of homelessness. When this war started back in February, I just had this almost obsession about I need to do something, and I think other people felt the same way. And it was a little bit fortuitous because our veterinarian in Romania happened to be neighbors with the guy that ran the border. He actually was in charge of that border station, and so he's the one that approved us setting up basically a vet clinic in a tent on the border. Once they approved us setting up an actual vet clinic at the border, we were then able to issue these pet passports for the European Union, which allowed the refugees that had pets to continue traveling. They didn't want to leave their pets behind. They'd already gone to trouble of bringing them all the way, driven for hours and cross the river. So it was great. We were able to take care of any problems they had. We would work from basically 9 in the morning, soon after the first boat came over, because it was a ferry crossing, to at least 10 o'clock at night, when that last, usually like a 9 o'clock ferry came across at night. So, it was 12, 13-hour days. I was fortunate enough to have 3 veterinary students going to school in Zagreb, Croatia. So the Croatia vet school, very enthusiastic, picked up on it quickly. So they helped me. And then since then, it's mostly been US folks, but we have had vet students from all over the US, primarily veterinarians, but also veterinary technicians. I know we've clicked past 500 pets that we've helped. This older Ukrainian gentleman that was leaving in his van, and he had a large German Shepherd type dog, actually a Malinois. It was kind of him and his dog against the world. And he was telling us through one of the best student translators that I had, as we met his dog and checked his dog out, that he was out of gas in his van. He had no cash, and all of his credit cards were useless because they were Russian credit cards, and all the banks outside of Russia wouldn't accept him anymore. He was stuck there, and I guess his family was in Western Europe, and he's pretty desperately trying to get out. So basically, one of the nonprofits, animal nonprofits that was working at the border with us, was able to come up with enough cash to get him, it's like $200 or $300 to get him gas, to get him going. And he showed us so many pictures of him and his dog, and videos of his dog swimming, but so bonded to his dog. He finally made it to France, which is where he was going. So that was a story with a good ending. Most of the dogs and pets and the people were pretty healthy, meaning this wasn't a war zone. The people were traumatized because they were having to leave their country with all their stuff, and their kids, were wide-eyed. Everybody was just kind of shell-shocked, even though they actually hadn't necessarily been in a war zone. So they were so grateful. So yes, that was what made us, feel really good that we had done this. There are some places where there are injured dogs, and Ukrainian veterinarians are needing help. So I know GreaterGood's involved in this too, and we're trying to ship supplies to them, and also ideally get a veterinarian to help them and bring a huge suitcase of supplies with them. There's a lot of good organizations doing work, but of course, Street Dog Coalition, we have Operation Ukraine on our website, and people can donate there, streetdogcoalition.org.